Prayer is about the approachability of the infinite, the intimacy of the infinite. She's right next to you. She's whispering in your ear. She knows every jot and tittle, every detail that took place in your life today. She's holding every flutter of your heart, every shudder of your soul, every desire of your body and your mind. She's with you in all of it. And all she wants is for you to reach out, hold her hand, and be her beloved, radical, wild partner. I want to tell you a story with your permission, okay? And it's a beautiful story about the butcher in a town called Koznitz in Eastern Europe. It's a story about Yankala. Now, to get this story, I got to tell you a little bit about how classical Hebrew wisdom practice works. So every day, there are these 3 silent prayers with 18 blessings. And the spiritual leader of, let's say, the congregation usually prays the longest. And when I was in that world as the leader of a congregation, so what happens is everyone prays at the public prayer service these quite long prayers. But the assumption is that the leader of the congregation is praying with, hyper intense seriousness. So everyone waits for him to finish his prayer. And when he takes 3 steps backwards, he's done. Then we go on with the prayer service. Now, of course, that becomes a little complicated because it's a little bit of an egoic game, right? So rabbis often, they're kind of demanded to pray the longest to kind of, demonstrate their extreme piety, right? So religion always has the places where it can get corrupt, and there's no ulterior motive like the ulterior motive of piety. So I used to laugh, at this game, and sometimes I would, with a little bit of an impish smile, I would quickly, end my prayer before anyone instead of after everyone, which made people aghast. It was actually shocking and scandalous and not helpful to my reputation as being a non-heretic. But in any case, that's a subject of a different tale. So there was a butcher in the town of Koznitz who would go to the prayer service of the great rabbi of Koznitz. And the rabbi would, of course, pray quite long. And he was truly, a great human being. But no matter how long he prayed, the butcher would always pray longer than him. Right? Wow. The butcher would always pray, right, longer than him. And no matter what he did. And the butcher was not a particularly pious man, and he wasn't a deep philosopher, and he didn't really give a lot of philanthropy. He never really, went overboard and never really tried hard enough. And he couldn't understand, right, this great rabbi of Koznitz, how is it that this simple butcher is always praying longer than me? And so he one day can't take it anymore. And so he asks his assistants to demand that the butcher come for a private meeting with the rabbi. And so the butcher comes, and the doors are shut, and the rabbi asks his attendants to leave. So it's only him and the butcher because God knows what this man's going to say, and he doesn't want to impugn his reputation. And finally, he says, quite exasperated when they're by themselves, he says, "Was tut sich?" What is going on here? What are you doing? I can't understand. How could you possibly pray that long? And the butcher says to him, he says, when I walk by you in town and I say hello, shalom aleichem, hello, right? You say hello and you're polite and nice and you walk on. Occasionally you stop and, ask me in a somewhat perfunctory way, how's my wife and the children? When I pass by the philanthropists in town and I say, hello, they also say hello. And if they need a choice piece of meat, they might spend an extra minute talking to me, but they don't pay me much heed. Not much heed at all. And really, no one does. Everyone's nice and, polite enough. And I have one or two friends, and even they get a little bit exasperated with me. But when I come before God, the infinity of intimacy, the King of all kings, the Queen of all queens, the motive force and animating presence of all reality and all worlds, all the way down and all the way up. For as long as I'm willing to stay and talk, she is willing to listen intently to every single word. Right? That's what prayer is. Prayer is about the approachability of the infinite. The approachability of the infinite. The intimacy of the infinite. She's right next to you. She's whispering in your ear. She knows every jot and tittle, every detail that took place in your life today. She's holding every flutter of your heart, every shudder of your soul, every desire of your body and your mind. She's with you in all of it. And all she wants is for you to reach out, hold her hand, and be her beloved, radical, wild partner. She wants to give you everything she can within the context of your highest, most wild and radical emergence. That's what prayer is. Prayer is an affirmation of the personhood of cosmos. Just like personhood exists between you and I, personhood is the nature of one face of cosmos. Yes, there are laws of physics and they're real. Yes, the four forces are real, the strong and the weak nuclear, the electromagnetic and the gravitational. Yes, dark matter needs to be taken seriously, right? Yes, that's all true. And yes, the Eros, which is the animating force that animates all of the four forces, right, is a third person force that drives cosmos forward. That's all true. And yes, my own consciousness is real. And I can feel myself, and that's first person. But personhood is utterly real as well. And the personhood between you and me, the personhood that you felt in your most deep and profound intensity, if you understand, just acts it inside of you, if you understand the nature of reality, that personhood participates in the personhood of reality. Your most intimate moment, your most erotic moment, your most tender moment, your moment filled with the most fierce and wild passion, right, is but a glimmer, but a pale expression of the infinity of intimacy desiring you, right, knowing you. And let's feel it for a second. And let's do the meditation together because it's an enormously important meditation. Let's practice together now. So let's close our eyes if we can. So imagine and feel with me reality in the third person. God, not the God you don't believe in. The God you don't believe in doesn't exist. God, the infinity of power, right? All the laws of physics integrated, all the principles of mathematics, all the underlying structures that animate the infinite algorithms of an infinitely complex and dazzlingly true and beautiful cosmos, all the force in reality, all the speed beyond the speed of light, all of the galaxies Not one, not two, not a million, not 2 million, not a billion, but 100 billion galaxies. And in each galaxy, 100 million stars at least. Bacteria that can generate life now evidentially confirmed throughout so many different pockets in the cosmos. Imagine all of that beauty. You can't. Let your imagination fall into rapture, just yearning for a glimpse, a picture of that God in the third person, right? Stretched out across all of reality, governed by an algorithmic complexity of dazzling brilliance that no human mind can barely wrap around, but just feel into all of that, all of its power, all of the glory of the dazzling brilliance beyond any and all comprehension. All of God in the third person is now sitting in a chair right now in this very second, sitting next to you, holding your hand, or sitting at your bedside this evening, looking deeply at you as you sleep and kissing your eyelids awake as you awaken. And all of God in the third person sitting in a chair, looking at you, loving you madly. But that's God in the second person. It's unimaginable. It's unimaginable. Now take it with me, friends, the next step. What is God in the second person sitting in that chair? What is God feeling? So you might ask, well, how do you know what God feels? Right? The sacred text from 3,000 years ago, Vayomer Adonai Libo, and divinity and spirit spoke to her heart. And so the masters of interior science say, how do we know what spirit said to her heart? And so my guide in interior science, Mordechai Leiner of Izbuka, writes, we know what is in the deepest recesses of the divine heart, of divine desire, because our desire in our heart participates in the divine heart and participates in divine desire. There's one desire. There's one love. There's one heart. And if I listen deeply to the sacred murmurings of my own heart, if I free my attention from the attention economies of commodification and exploitation, if I place my attention on my heart, and quite literally, friends, this is dazzlingly beautiful, right? In the original Hebrew, the actual word for attention is, and I'm quoting directly from a 3,000-year-old text, sim lev, the placing on the heart. Attention is the placing of attention on my heart. And literally, when I place attention on my heart, I disclose ontology. We call it anthro-ontology. When I find the inner heart of my unique anthro-expression, anthro-human, when I find and feel the pulse of my uniquely beating heart, then I know something about reality. And our hearts share their beating. Your heart beats in mine, and my heart beats in yours. Right? I can feel your heart beating inside of mine. Right? We are the ones we've been waiting for. Right? We can do this together. But we are the ones that we've been waiting for doesn't exclude divinity from the story. Right? We're holding hands with our beloved. She's holding us and we're holding her. And infinity meets finitude. And we realize that we participate in each other. We can hear and feel the divine yearning because we can hear and feel the murmurings of yearning, the inconsolable longing that lives in us. So find, beloved friend, find the most tender love that ever lived in you, quivering tenderness, dripping in your heart, tumescent, alive, awake, and multiply that tenderness by 10. And then exponentially multiply that tenderness by 100 and 1,000 and 100,000 and 1,000,000 until you are literally, right, the platonic form of tenderness, infinite, dripping, mad tenderness is you. And then feel the fierce desire and passion and urgency throbbing inside you. The fierce, sensual, urgent throbbing. And then double it. And then triple it. And then 10 times over. And then exponentialize, right? And then go to 100 and 1,000 and 100,000 and 1,000,000 until you are pulsing, yearning, unimaginable. And then in the next and the third step of this meditation, bring together your quivering tenderness with your pulsing, dripping, throbbing, yearning. Bring them together and then exponentialize them again into infinity. And then you'll know what that God in the second person, all of the third person, sitting in second person on that chair, looking at you, waking up in the morning, right? That's what she feels for thee. That's what infinity feels for you. Wow. Right? To know that is to wake up. That's the shock of awakening. And you'll never be the same again. That's a realization, right? It's not a dogma. It's a realization. You actually find the mysteries are within us. So find that moment of your infinite tenderness and find that moment of your infinite throbbing, dripping desire. And know that that moment merged together in a larger synergy. There's no polarity between tenderness and throbbing. They're part of the larger field of Eros, exponentialized into infinity because we participate in infinity. And you know what God, what the infinity of intimacy feels like on the inside. And you participate, right, in cosmos itself, awake, uniquely alive in you. And just like you hold your beloved, you know that you are held by the beloved. Nothing more real. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's practice. That's what Rumi was always talking about. It's what Rumi was always feeling.